The president is considering firing the head of the Food and Drug Administration, according to a source familiar with the matter. The source tells us the president has not made a final decision yet on firing Commissioner Marty Makary and can still change his mind. But it comes after months of upheaval at the agency, including unexpected drug rejection, staff departures, and mounting pressure on the agency to act on abortion pills. The White House did not confirm whether or not the president is considering this move, telling us, quote, this: the president has assembled the most experienced and talented administration in history, an administration that continues to focus on delivering more historic victories for the American people. And Anne Thompson is joining me now with more on this. Listen, Anne, Marty Makary has been on the forefront of a lot of initiatives on behalf of this administration, this president, especially some initiatives involving women's health. Walk us through what could potentially happen with the makeup of the FDA if, in fact, the president decides to move forward with this firing.
Yeah, in fact, Yasmin, just a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to Dr. Makary about the decision to fast-track 3 psychedelic drugs for treatments of things like depression and PTSD. And he's always been very affable and very willing to speak to reporters. But he apparently has gotten in trouble with the president because he didn't want to approve flavored vapes because he thought those would once again attract young people to smoking, to vaping, and also because he didn't deliver on a promised review of the abortion pill, mifepristone. That is something he promised during his confirmation hearing. That has not happened. So what would happen is there would be a leadership vacuum at the FDA, and this is the agency that approves drugs and regulates our food. And while he has done some things that certainly would be in the plus side of the Make America Healthy Again movement, such as moving to remove artificial dyes from our food, it's other things that have apparently angered the president, at least enough to start to put a plan in place to fire him, but no final decision has been made as to whether he'll get to keep his job or not. And as we know, the president could change his mind.
Yeah, and certainly this is obviously a story that we're going to be watching. Anne Thompson, thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.